All right, check, check. How's that?
Good from my end.
Yep, I'm good.
All right, Gauntlet Wizard, Target. Are we good on stream?
We're good on stream.
Hey, thanks so much, Corey. All right, let's try that one more time. So we're here with the Volunteers of America of Western Washington. They are our chosen charity for this awesome LAN party fundraiser. And we have brought them here to share a little bit with us about their history, about some of the challenges that they're facing currently, and things that we can do to help. All while, of course, you can see that amazing bar at the bottom is creeping up towards our $1,000 goal. We are up to 110 already just from mostly this morning. So thanks so much, everyone who's donating. You all are awesome. We are watching our Twitch chat here, looking for questions. And we are watching with Discord as well, so feel free to chime in with questions at any time. We want to keep this kind of conversational, kind of open, kind of a family-friendly chat with our favorite charity. So I wanted to start you all off with a bit of an easy question here, which is, what is your favorite video or board game?
So my wife loves to play Animal Crossing here recently. I'm not so much into that. But I get to see a lot of it. She lets me fish for her sometimes. And but my favorite board game is Clue.
Oh yeah,
that's a classic.
Yep.
If you like Clue, you should check out a board game called Mysterium, and it's kind of one of those games that has that basics of Clue where you're trying to figure out who done it. But all the clues are these gorgeous painted art cards. And that's it.
Oh, nice.
So you gotta like hand out those art cards and be like, this is who I think the murderer is, and this is who I think the murderer weapon is, and this is the room I think it's in. And you all gotta kind of work together to figure out what the story is there and who the real killer is at the end. It is amazing if you're fans of Clue.
No, that's fantastic. I wrote it down. Yeah.
I'm old school. My favorite video game is definitely Tetris, and
nice.
I think it comes in. What was that?
I said nice. Good choice.
Thanks. It helps when I'm packing or doing things like that too. It's got life applicable skills. And then board game would probably be Scrabble. I like Scrabble.
There you go. I have a Scrabble PTSD from playing with my grandparents who would pull out words that I'm like, that's not a real word. And they're like, no, it's a French root, and it comes around. I'm like, all right, just stop. It's fine. Don't tell me anymore.
Are they the kind of people that know the 6 words in the English language that start with a Q but don't have a U after it?
Yeah, that sort of thing. They wouldn't go as far as using medical terms. They would draw the line there, but anything else was fair game, and it was brutal. All right, you want to ask the next one? Alternate on the questions here.
We have something from, we do Twitch. Have something from Twitch. In what way did we, the Emerald City Land, how did we choose the Volunteers of America?
Yeah, that is a great question. I didn't expect any questions to us, so this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer a little bit about the history of Emerald City and our relationship with the local food banks?
Yes. So Emerald City started back in 2012, and while we've worked with various charities over our history, we've always made sure that a food bank was a part of our charity outlay. We've run food drives, and at one point we had a contest to see who could bring in the most by tonnage. The guy with the 50-pound bag of rice. Mm-hmm.
That will do it.
But so we always try to make sure that there is at least one food bank on our list, and Volunteers of America have been working in that realm for a long time, and they've done some really great work, so it just seemed a natural fit.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into that next question. When you say a long time, you really mean a long time, right? Chris and Jessica, you tell us a little bit about how Volunteers of America was formed, a little bit of that history there?
Sure. So Volunteers of America has been serving Washington since 1898. So we've been around for a short time, and our services have really kind of evolved over the 100 years that we've been here. Right now, we serve a plethora of different groups of people. We have food banking, which is one of our most visible services. We not only have our own food banks, but we also serve the other 18 food banks in our county. So we are reaching far and wide. We also do mental health services through our behavioral health program. We have a 24-hour crisis line that is always there if you need someone to talk to through text, through chat, through phone calls. We do a little bit of everything from early childhood education to serving adults with disabilities 24 hours a day in their homes. So we do it all, but we're here to talk about food banking today. And Chris is our director of hunger prevention. So I don't know if you want to chime in and say anything on that, Chris.
Yeah, no, I just to back up some of the information. Yeah, we've been doing. I took over hunger prevention for VOA. I've been with VOA over 4 years, or it'll be 4 years in December, and then I've been be the director of hunger prevention for a year. It'll be a year in October. Just very rewarding work, and going in more into that. Our distribution center is something that we've had a contracts for I want to say over 30 plus years. And we get USDA contracts and WSDA contracts and get food shipped to us and then distributed directly out to 18 other food banks in Snohomish County, along with 16 meal sites. So we try to make a huge impact, as well as our 2 brick and mortar food banks. We have pop-up pantries, a couple on Casino Road. And then we've also, since COVID, we took a partnership with Food Lifeline in King County and have been distributing emergency Food Lifeline boxes with non-perishables in a variety of ways. We rented an extra 64,000 square feet of space to store the boxes and the pallets. And then we rented 3 trucks. We have drivers making deliveries. And then we've also been doing like some larger scale drive up distribution sites with 53-foot semis loaded with pallets and a group of very passionate volunteers and staff that have just been doing amazing work. And we've just been able to reach so many more people during this time.
So not too much then. The answer to what you do. That is an incredible, absolutely incredible amount for a charity to be doing, especially one as old as the Volunteers of America. We have a question from chat.
How long has the charity been active, and what do you do for them? I think we just covered that, though.
Yeah, we honestly did. So if you don't feel satisfied with that question, you're gonna need a better follow-up there yourself.
Well, 102 years, if we want to be, I guess.
if anyone's counting, not that anyone's counting. But yeah, that kind of leads me to how many volunteers are active just in the Western Washington chapter? Do you happen to have that information offhand?
Thousands. I would say we have at
Thousands.
least 1,500 volunteers a year throughout our different programs.
And
hunger prevention is definitely our heaviest program for volunteers.
Yeah, I want to back that up with that. Yeah, we have a core group of volunteers because, to be completely honest, our food bank operations in the actual food bank. So we have the front of the house and the back of the house at our Broadway building. The back of the house is for distribution. The front of the house is the food bank. Our food banks, we have 2.5 staff members that operate the food bank. Otherwise, the other 98%, as far as that goes, is all volunteer. And with COVID, we've had to adjust our services. We used to run with 20 to 25 volunteers in the food bank a day, and sometimes even more if we had a large donation and brought in some, like Boeing, the Navy, Boys and Girl Scouts would come in and help us sort. But since COVID, we've had to roll that back, obviously, for social distancing, and now we're doing our operations with only 10 to 12 volunteers that are spaced out throughout the food bank. We've changed our distribution to the parking lot. So it's a pre-packed box with everything. They get a menu at the door, and then the box is prepared for them, and then they meet them in the parking lot in order to give that to the client. I went too far on this one, but yeah, volunteers is the core of what I know. I went sideways. Not at all passionate. Yeah. And so our volunteers, we could not do it without them. Like I said, it's 98% of our workforce every day.
Would you say that's kind of one of the large challenges that you face as a working with like food banks, is just sourcing those volunteers and coordinating all of them?
I mean, it can be at certain times. I have to say that COVID has really, when COVID hit, there's a good percentage of our core volunteers before COVID that were seniors. So we encouraged them to stay home and obviously, for their safety. But then there's just been this other core group that's just got activated and popped up. I mean, but I do know Jessica's one of them. I had to send an all call out when COVID first hit because we had nobody. It was just our paid staff. So all of us, I did a call out to, the other building, and, we had a bunch of staff from accounting, development, Jessica's team show up and just make it happen. So that's the other thing too, but it really made us appreciate how much the volunteers really do for us every day, having to be in there, because I think we pretty much supported the food bank for that whole week until we could get some volunteers back in to help us. So it was an adjustment.
So,
And just to give you guys,
go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, just to give you an idea of the increase in volume that we've seen since COVID has hit. Typically on an annual year, we're serving about 200,000 people through all of our programs, through our 7 different programs. And just from March through the end of July, our hunger prevention program alone served 56,000 people in 3 months. So we're seeing a huge increase in need, and those volunteers are really stepping up to help us get that food out, as well as the community has just been wonderful with donations and helping us be able to keep the food coming in and going out the door to those in need. So it's been really amazing.
Wow, that's fantastic. Kind of leading into that a little bit, could you both maybe share a story about working with Volunteers of America that has affected you personally?
I can go first, no problem. So I so to be completely honest, just even sticking on that volunteer aspect, just very moved, very emotional about these people that come in and give their time to us. I mean, I'm constantly down whenever I'm walking through the food bank, thanking them. I'm pretty sure they get sick of it, but I try to understand, or try to get them to understand how much it moves me that they are there every day giving selflessly, just to help feed people. And I tell them all the time we couldn't do it without them. It just doesn't work.
And for me, I work in development, so fundraising is one of my main tasks, and I get to call donors and thank them. Every donation we get, I call, whether you donate $5 or you donate $5,000. I get to call those donors and talk to them about why they're giving. And the stories that they have are amazing. Sometimes it's a $5 donor and they're sharing with me that they're on a fixed budget, but it means so much to them to be able to give, and they wish that they could give more, but $5 is what they have to spare. And me getting to connect with those stories, and also through COVID on a personal level, it's a heavy time. And so for me to get to call people and get to express my gratitude for something amazing that they're doing has been really energizing and helps me get through the day. So I really feel blessed to be in the position that I am, and just to get to hear people's stories. And so there's more stories than I could share, but there's definitely a lot. And a lot of people give because maybe they received food from the food bank when they were little. Their family had to utilize our services, and so now it's come full circle, and they're ready to give back to their community.
And that's a really beautiful thing, honestly. And I think there are definitely plenty of people in our LANFest family here that have been in that similar situation, where they were helped when they were younger, when they were struggling in life. And, I feel really compelled to give back to that community and be a part of it. We have this donation bar here at the bottom of the stream. And our donors, at LANFest have been so amazingly generous and so very kind. And it's just fantastic to see, everything that there it goes, another $10 right there in the goal. It's 12% right there. So yeah, absolutely fantastic community. And I think there's actually a question from Twitch chat about that.
There is. The main question here is, how much of an impact has partnering with gaming helped the organization?
Well, I think this is really our first time partnering with the gaming community. And we were so excited when Darc and the team reached out to us from LANFest. And I was like, this is just a whole community that I don't think that we really have talked to yet. And he was telling us how philanthropic the gaming community is. And we're just blessed to be here and have the opportunity to talk to you guys and see what kind of impact we can make together.
Yeah, and just forever grateful that you thought of us. Really, truly grateful.
You hear that, LANFest? We're making a first impression, so let's do it right.
Come on, pony up. Yeah, but
And they're
one of the
good
things
first
that
impressions.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Yeah, one of the things that was really exciting for us, especially working with charities for the first time, is a lot of charities haven't looked into online fundraising, right? Haven't looked into fundraising with the gaming community before. And it's one of those things where, like, up until now, it was kind of like, well, we'll get around to it, right? It's something that maybe we'll talk about, or like I heard something about Fortnite, but we'll check into it later. And with the pandemic, right, and everything that's going on right now, it really is a time that's like, okay, no, we have to take a look into this, right? We have to figure out a way to connect to our community because they're stuck at home. They can't, necessarily, there's a lot of people that have health risks, right? They can't go outside. They can't really be around other people. And so this is a really great way to connect with them while they're stuck at home and, don't have a ton of other things going on where they can feel part of that community.
Yeah, and you guys already had the ticket on this. Obviously, we had to do some catch up. I mean, Jessica will adhere to this. I mean, us trying to throw our normal face-to-face meetings in, and now all of us trying to figure out Zoom and working remotely and how that all was going to look for our organization. In hunger prevention, though, I mean, it's been difficult. I mean, you can't VPN a box of food. Somebody physically has to go up there and do it. So we've been going nonstop since this whole thing happened, and but obviously leadership wise, I mean, just being able to latch into this type of community, and yes, donations, we completely changed our message as far as making it cash donations versus actual food donations, just because of the flexibility that the cash allows us to have. Because from one week to the next, we don't know what we're going to run short in, and the cash allows us the flexibility then to go ahead and say, oh my gosh, well, we need butter this week, so we'll go and make a purchase of butter. Just simple things like that make it all very much easier. So yeah, this has been a whole new, the last few months for us, going virtual and doing the push to donate on our website. It's been a lot of fun, even in amidst, the negativity of all of it. But it was definitely the push, I think, for a lot of us to that we kind of needed, in order to, I don't know, it just expand our electronics and, our virtual imprint.
Well, they say you wouldn't download a car, you wouldn't download food. I think we would if we had the choice, right?
That'll be the next
Star
big
Trek
thing.
transporter.
Push food over VPN.
Well,
Push
I like
food
it.
over
I have
VPN. I love it.
I have Grubhub, right? I just do something on my phone and they show up at my door. So yeah, that's how that works, right?
That's step one. Food over VPN. I love it.
So you mentioned something about needing to make a purchase of butter. So I wanted to talk about that. Do you just follow strict recipes with the food that you give out? Do you you mentioned something about a menu before. So how exactly does that work?
So the menu that we're talking about right now is so maybe some family doesn't we have from time to time we have pet food. Some people, they may not, want meats. They're not a meat eater. They might be, not a lactose, or not, milk is not their friend. So that's basically the list we go through, is checking to make sure that, are you wanting the dairy? Are you wanting the meats that's being offered today? Are you, and it runs through, do you have any babies in the house? Because we do like to keep some diapers and formula in the food bank. And then also, what if you have a cat or dog? Because if any time that we do have donated pet food, we like to get that out too. Because there's, I have dogs. I don't have kids, so they're, I would need pet food. So it's often people don't think about it. So that's where the menu goes. And then, what was the other part of the question? Sorry.
It's just when you're building, it sounds like these more personalized menus to some degree. How do you develop the menus themselves? Is it just based on the donations that come in? Are there specific things that you go out and search for?
Yes. So I want to say 80% of what we have is donations into the food bank. We do, though, get a good amount of food from the USDA and WSDA contracts that I was talking about earlier, and that just comes directly to us from the state distribution. And but that'll be different every day. Some of it, we'll get a truckload of apples, we'll get some potatoes, we'll get a truck of turkeys or chicken. Well, not turkeys really. We get chickens mostly, and then some dairy products, and it always filters. It's always different and moving. So then maybe we're a little far out on with the next butter delivery. So we'll have to go out and then purchase some because my food bank manager is telling me that she's running low. And so and we try to make the food boxes as well rounded as we can. We used to have a shopping model, right? When you would come in, you would get to shop just like you do at your normal grocery store. It's very empowering rather than someone just throwing you a box of food. But again, we've had to change some of those practices. But again, we still try to be cognizant of dietary needs and stuff like that. We keep some insures around, and that'll be another question. If there's any extra protein needs that you need. So yeah, I mean, we try the best we can. Is it perfect? No, it's not. Are you still going to get a can of lentil or not a bag of lentils that you didn't want? Yes, probably. So it still is what it is.
And I would add, I would call it more of a shopping list than a menu because we're not preparing the food for them. We're giving them the ingredients to prepare food for themselves.
Yes, clear language. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Do you kind of organize that by like a recipe as well, or is it more like this is a good group that kind of covers the things we were looking to hit for that target?
I guess I'm just unclear about what you mean by recipe.
When you're putting together like a package, right, for a family where they would have the different items in there, is it like, okay, this is like a recipe we could assemble for them, or is it more like targeting the different food groups?
Yeah, it's targeting the different food groups for sure, and then also whatever extras that we have because we do grocery rescues as well. So we end up getting a lot of baked goods, cakes, the day old donuts or bread, which is still good. So and so we try to stay away from the sweets, but we still end up with some of them. But yeah, we try to give them at least whatever we have physically for that day for that day's distribution. We try to give everybody at least one or two of each and every item.
So you mentioned before that COVID has changed some of your operating model. And so we had a question here on the stream of, are there possibilities for more casual volunteer opportunities now that you've changed things up with COVID?
Yes, there is. Yeah, we're definitely still. I mean, and we like I said, we're still limiting the number, but then we have two separate operations. Yes, because we can have at least I want to say 4 or 5 people in the back sorting through our big bins, and then another 10 in the main food bank doing the distribution rounds. So yeah, definitely, there's always volunteer opportunities, and even if it's not there, it could be at one of our drive-up sites. Whenever we're distributing the emergency food boxes that are non-perishable, and that's all outdoors. That's out in the sun and the fun, and so yeah, there's always opportunities.
And there's other opportunities throughout the organization as well, depending on what you're interested in. If you are interested in physical labor, like painting or weeding, we have that. We have crisis chat for those who are qualified to volunteer as a crisis chat counselor. So there's a ton of volunteer opportunities, and you can volunteer for one time for 2 hours, or you can sign up to come back every week. We would love to have you, whatever your availability is. We'd love to get people involved.
Cool. And yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity there, not just for individual streamers, but for LANFest itself, right? We stream multiple times a week. I think we have a stream almost every single night going on. And so if you're a streamer and you're someone that's interested, in helping out different charities, LANFest does that, right? That's literally our bread and butter, We don't necessarily ship the bread and butter, right? That's on you guys. But we definitely help train people up on how to do broadcasts, on how to get the equipment working, get all your cameras and lighting going, that sort of stuff. And getting out there and setting up something like a donor drive, like this awesome donation bar, which just ticked up by $10 down here.
Nice.
So that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, person who donated. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities there, and you can reach out to us at LANFest.com. We have a volunteer section that you can get involved, and we have all the different posts and options available there. I kind of want to change a little bit to some more personal questions here, if that's okay. Do you have a favorite person that you've interacted with while volunteering? Just like maybe a story about someone that's like, this individual really stuck out in my mind when I was volunteering with Volunteers of America.
Do you want to go first on that one, Chris, or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, no, I can. I think the person that stands out most to me because it's one of our volunteers. His name is Nels. We even highlighted him on a segment for the food bank. He's always been one of our core older gentlemen and refused to stay home during COVID. Was still coming in to the food bank and helping us out. He finally had to be told by his doctor he could not, he could no longer come in. And it was just that sheer and the tear in his eye whenever he had to tell me that he wasn't going to be back and how much he was going to miss everybody. And I'm getting upset right now because I miss him completely. But his health is more important, and that's what I expressed to him. And that he'll always have a home there. But yeah, his favorite thing is every time I'd walk in the door, he'd look over and he goes, "Hey, can I go home, Chris?" And he would have just gotten there, but it was all the time. And I remember when I first got over to the food bank, when I took the position, he hit me with that initially, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know, where's Tanya?" And the food bank manager, and she's screaming, "No, he can't go home. Don't listen to him. He always does that." So it's really, really, really adorable, man. And yeah, we totally miss him, but wish him well. So Nels.
I've heard tons of good things about Nels. For me, we have a bus driver who actually works for Everett Transit and is part of the Amalgamated Transit Union. And for the past 30 years, we have been doing Stuff-A-Bus. So every weekend after Thanksgiving and also the 2 following weekends to that, we partner with Everett Transit and Fred Meyers, and we have a bus outside and we collect toys and food and hygiene items and clothes for families in need over the holidays. And this gentleman, his name's Steve, he is always the first to step up and take those days and be responsible for the bus. So he's volunteering and doing this on his own time, but he drives the bus and he sits there with us for 6 hours a day for 3 weekends in a row. And he did a video with us I think last year for our event, and just to listen to his heart and why it's so important to him to give back to these families and how he's been fortunate and how he wants others to basically follow in his footsteps. And really, he's modeling that example of what it means to be invested in your community and to give back. And it's just really heartwarming. And I enjoy working with him every year.
So you got Nels, the guy with the dad jokes, and Steve, the bus driver. Those are just some amazing examples of some of the beautiful stories that you get when you work with volunteers and trying to make other people's lives better. It's really heart touching. It's really something that is important to us here at LANFest, is making those personal connections.
A particular importance to me because I was one of those people picking up those boxes once upon a time.
Back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of items are needed most at your food banks? What should be in those boxes?
What I usually like to say for the items that get forgotten about, like toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, feminine hygiene
Diapers.
items, diapers, yes, and larger size diapers. I always say, because we get preemies in the newborn diapers all the time, because I think the babies grow out of those the quickest. And so, the larger size diapers and wipes. I remember when COVID first hit, I couldn't find wipes anywhere. And so I'd have diapers, but there were no wipes. And I think that went on for almost 3 months. It was kind of crazy.
And it's
Oh,
always
wow.
a need, and having to send a family away knowing they have 3 diapers for a child for a week it's heartbreaking, and you just you don't want to have a baby in that situation. So
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And something you mentioned earlier too was definitely needing cash, right? Cash gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of responsiveness in the way that you're addressing the community's needs. So where does most of your funding come from?
we get it from a bunch of different places, but the philanthropic giving through individuals is huge, and it allows us to really have the flexibility to buy what we need. And we also have a bulk buying power. So your dollar that you could go to the store and buy a can of soup or a couple of things of ramen, we can buy significantly more with that dollar and buy exactly what we need. We also do get some government funding and a lot of grants from foundations, where local community foundations, where we're sending in proposals to get funding that way. But the individual donations from the community is huge.
Yeah, I want to say for the food bank, for sure, that holds the food bank up completely. We don't have a designated every year re-sign the contract to fund the food bank, and I don't believe we ever have. So it runs completely on Jessica's development team and their efforts to go out and find funding for us. It also comes from people and groups like you donating to us and helping us, get by another week or another month. So it completely depends on donations. As far as I'm concerned, it's unfunded otherwise.
So you hear that, viewers? It's viewers like family.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Speaking of the Twitch family, we do have one person who specifically wanted to give a shout out to Volunteers of America for all of the work they do. I mean, there's a lot of people that are helped by programs like this, but even this one in particular. And the edgy, no, the edgy, Thedgy. All right, there we go. Thedgy wanted to call out that they're very thankful for all the work that you guys do, and they are also somebody who's had to use services like this before, and that they appreciate it just like we all do. So
Well, thank you. We appreciate the kind words. And I think what we're hearing is there are times in everybody's lives when maybe they have to use the food bank. And especially right now, most of the clients that we're seeing are first time users of our services because of unemployment, because of COVID, or a plethora of reasons. And I think there's this thought that the people that use the food bank are maybe the homeless person that you saw while you were driving there, but that's really not the case. So many of our food bank clients are children and seniors. A huge portion of them are children and seniors. And we know that that's a vulnerable population that we have to keep fed. And so, we went from 1 in 7 individuals in Washington being food insecure and not knowing where their next meal was coming from. So now it's 1 in 4. So that's 25% of our population. So it could be your neighbor, and just because your neighbor drives a nice car doesn't necessarily mean that they have food to put on the table. Their car could be up for repossession. We don't know. So I think it's just
They're
breaking
living
that
in the
stigma.
car.
Right, or maybe they're living in that car. So we're seeing a whole different demographic of people that we're serving right now, and yeah, there's just a lot of needs. So we really appreciate being here and having the opportunity to present what we're doing, because it's not us that's doing it. We can't do it without the community. So it's really a team effort.
So, so this is the first time that you've had the opportunity to work with a gaming community. Is this something you think that you'll be continuing in the future, or are you still kind of in a wait and see pattern for gaming in general?
No, I
I'm
think
all in.
Jessica and I, we were a little scared and hesitant to get on to play the games. I think we've been talking about this for like the last 3 weeks, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just gonna die in 2 seconds. I don't know. And so, but yeah, we definitely want to push this forward and definitely do a little bit more in this, because again, this is an untapped. This is our first experience with it, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun.
Yeah, and the more we partner, the more we come together with the gaming community, with everybody, the more impact we can have and the more we can do and the more need we can meet. So we are definitely open. I saw in the stream that somebody asked about individual streamers. Yes, reach out to me. I'm happy to have that conversation with you and just see what we can do. So, and also thank you, Scott Kern 3, for your donation. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're up to 150 now. The bar is creeping its way upwards, and we'll we're hoping to see that keep creeping its way all the way to the end throughout all the different awesome coming on this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We are pretty much at the end of our time here, so I want to end this with one last question, which is, do you have any special programs with the Volunteers of America over the next month or so that we should know about?
Oh, we actually Chris, did you have something you wanted to
Well,
say,
I know.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm like, we have a lot. No, I mean, not even. I'm just talking about like the rental assistance programs. So the Dispute and Resolution Center. We also have 211 call center with behavioral health that has community COVID outreach. I'm going to get this wrong. Community COVID outreach counselors. I
Outreach
got it.
now.
I got it. So anyway, and they've actually moved into my food bank. They're on upstairs floor. With some offices, but they're out in the community, going, not really door to door, but they're based out of other food banks in the Snohomish County area, DSHS's offices, bringing applications for rental assistance and or anything else. They have the entire 211 database that they have access to for just resources. But these are ladies that are out there pounding the pavement, just trying to get resources to people. And then Jessica, I'm sure you had more.
Yes, I just to piggyback off what she said for 1 second, we know that rental is a huge need right now. There's an eviction moratorium through October 15th, but after that, all that rent is going to be due. So we have a homelessness prevention program, which typically runs off of about $90,000 a year. And in July alone, we gave out almost $800,000 worth of rental assistance. So that's a huge increase, and we know that there's going to be more coming that way. But what I was going to say about upcoming is we're doing a huge campaign the last 2 weeks of September, actually, called Give Hope. And we're focusing on food and shelter and support through our mental health, behavioral health program. And so what we're doing is partnering with champions and advocates, where we're going to do a social media campaign and ask those champions to share why it's important to feed our neighbors, or why it's important to keep our neighbors housed, and share that with their social networks. And so that's a huge campaign that we have coming up starting on the 21st of September. And if anybody is interested in being an advocate or being a champion, I would love to talk to you more about that and using your social media channels to really help advocate for our community.
That's the 21st of September. Of course, those that are in Discord, right, running the event here, we have and Jessica Moore on the Discord channel, so please, ping them there, reach out to them. Chris, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us that you were able to come and join us and talk to all the here at